All right. Hi, everyone. En here, head of community at Livepeer. Um, Today's water cooler. We have a number of topics we're going to go over, and I'm going to start with some community announcements. I think the biggest one right now is we had some pretty big news around being listed on Upbit, as well as being included in Grayscale's top 20 decentralized AI companies in the industry. So we had quite a significant bump in the community, as well as top of funnel engagement. So that was super great to see. Always fun when we get a moment in the news cycle to showcase how great everything we're doing is. The other thing is that Fireside has been going really well. Apologies on the delay for getting that content out. Hopefully this week we will start getting those videos posted at a pretty consistent cadence. So those are the updates on my end. The first topic we're going to go over is Titan over at the agent SPE and talking about early access codes, and then Titan will have a second subject about Livepeer's player and some issues around React and iframes. Go ahead, Titan.
All right. Um, Thank you so much, N. Appreciate it. And if you hear kids screaming in the background, just ignore them. They are very excited about everything happening in life here. So it's their number one enthusiasts in the background. So yeah, just a quick demo. So if anyone wants to come and join um, and give some feedback, we're giving away some Sarah tokens and we're doing a big giveaway of 20 soul for feedback on Sarah's game. And so for those that have seen or heard of Sarah's game before, we're using Livepeer throughout this app to bring an AI agent kind of phrase style game where you try to convince Sarah to give you her soul, to give her soul to you. So there's a prompt, and you try to convince her, and it's powered by Livepeer on the inference side as well as the video delivery and all these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share in the chat the websites, and let's see, just put it in https btuber.fun, and the access code is Sarah's game. And so if anyone wants to hop on, some of you might have some Solana wallets, some might not have some Solana wallets, but this might be an opportunity to kind of see what we're building here, and how we're bringing the agent SPE is bringing agents to life using the decentralized inference network of Livepeer, which is a very interesting primitive. And so as we kind of go through the stack, right now we have Sarah being hosted as a game engine in a container, and that can be handed out. I think Friday we're handing them out. Define is going to be handing them out to people to test out and start spitting up more agents like Sarah. And then on Monday, hopefully, we're going to be in Berlin doing a speech on the agent SPE, what we're building, and then again a quick demo of Sarah. And
Oh,
so anyway, played a game, and she gave me, so I gave her 0.001 soul, and she managed to give me 0.004 soul back. So I over 4x my money. And what's cool is it's all built on Eliza OS, and we're kind of trying to put a partnership together with them. Yeah, so kind of, and then obviously we got the chat system going on, and we'll try and figure out all that stuff. So, but yeah, my real question actually was towards the Livepeer Studio team, or Livepeer Inc., was this concept of the Livepeer player. So just as if anyone else wants to play the game, they can join in. But the Livepeer player has been having quite a bit of issues. I can't tell if it's I'm having the issues or if it's the player that's having the issues, or if it's just because I'm really targeting mobile. And what's happening is on desktop and web applications, the React player is loading just fine. But then use when you use how does it work? There's a specific type of implementation where if you have an iOS app that opens a browser within the iOS app, it's a different style of, I don't know, framework. And the React framework just doesn't work anymore. So the player fails to load. And then what does load is the iframe. The iframe works perfectly, except there's something on the Livepeer player side hosted by Livepeer, which is like it will load too quickly. It'll like load something before the player finishes loading. Thull figured it out with Mist Server, and it's like then it just fails to load to begin with, even though it's like the perfect implementation. So anyway, probably just rambling a bit here, but as you can see, I've been spending a lot of time with the studio and the React player components, and then also just building out this game to try and make it interesting. So yeah, this is kind of just what I've been working on. If anyone wants to participate in the 20 Soul giveaway, just go onto the vtuber.fun site. You have to play 10 games, and then you have to go to the bottom of the page, give us your feedback, and you'll be eligible for a 20 Soul giveaway. So that's how you do that, and that's kind of just my topic.
Hey,
Awesome.
Titan, have you described the player issue you're having in the public support forum in the Discord?
Yeah, I've been in the lounge a lot with I got a whole thread going, and I'm talking with Hunter and Gioli.
Yeah,
How do you say his name?
Joelle. Yeah, Gio.
Joelle and Tom. Yeah, and Thul. We've managed to pull in quite a few people, and Shiyu, and let's see. Yeah, so I got quite a few people, and then I think Authority chimed in, and Navigare's chimed in. So it's been an ongoing conversation for like the last 5 days, but I think obviously the weekend happened and they were quite busy, and then they kind of asked me what my like how soon I needed this, and I was like, well, I mean, I want to launch next week, and it would be nice to have a player that works. So, but I also been looking for different player options if that's the case. So I don't know if anyone else has any other player options yet that work or are recommended, because I use Studio for the ingest and delivery, and it's phenomenal, but just the player is just giving me a headache on the Next.js side of things.
Okay. Yeah, well, it sounds like you got the right eyes on it. I obviously don't know off the top of my head. Sounds like a little bit of a niche issue because the player is definitely used in a lot of applications at scale, and it's integrated with the analytics and everything. So it should be a working option. Obviously, want to get that fixed. But
I think
yeah,
I
sounds like
think
it's embedded web views.
I just found like the exact two unique bugs for me, and then
Yeah.
Thull was like, okay, that's a bug, that's clearly fixable, and then I think they're like, give us a week. So that's the iframe bug. So like I can't affect the iframe. So there literally is just a loading error, like it just doesn't load correctly. So hopefully they fix that quickly. And then the React side is like just this weird one-off thing where it's like you have, because when you use it's specifically the Phantom wallet. When you want to send a transactions in Phantom, it doesn't, like normally you have a web browser and then it sends the transaction to your app, you sign the transaction in your app, and then it sends you back to your web browser, and then off you go. But in Phantom, it embeds the web browser into the app, and then it like tries to use it there. And so you have this weird thing where you have all the constraints of an iOS app inside of a browser, inside, like it's like this weird, and then there's like a million restrictions, so it's like not quite working correctly. And I don't know if so it's just like this weird thing, and it's like, okay. So anyway, it works like 95% of the time. It's just like these weird little bugs that I found, because I want most of the people that are playing on this are going to be playing on their phone, and most of them use Solana, and most Solana users use Phantom or Soulflare. So Soulflare works totally fine. It's like just the Phantom iOS implementation. So it's very, very specific.
Cool. Last thought is it might be a candidate for the bounty board. Like anyone out there that has an
Ooh.
idea of this could jump on it and debug it, because it's an open source player that they could try and test out and contribute to. So yeah, if we want something turned around quickly, that might be an option.
Yes.
And if
Yes, I want this turned around as quickly as possible. So where is that bounty board? I'd love to.
Yeah, I can send it to you after the call, Titan. So there's like an app, like a little app that you can send bounties to, and especially as like an SPE, it's pretty easy to do. However, it depends how you want to do it. If you want to do it from like the SPE on your end, or if you want to do Ink to do it, we can do it as well. So just let's take that offline, and I'll DM you to figure it out.
It sounds good. Yeah.
Awesome.
I know there's very capable people, and we're going to be launching in 8 days. So if we can get the iframe player working, that would be amazing. And then if we can get the React, if someone can just start debugging the React player, it would be really, really amazing too. So yeah, those are my topic. And hop on, like I said, if you want to hop on to Sarah's game and just play around, feel free to just spend some soul. It's 0.001 soul per play, so it's it's about 10 cents, 5 cents to play a game, and yeah, just see how you do. So anyway,
and could you just
on.
one question for me, and also Doug just posted the link, I think, to the bounty application. But what is the game like when you say beat Sarah? Like what is the game specifically?
The game is you're interacting with an AI agent. Try to convince her to give you her purse. So she has a purse with 100 soul in it, and you make prompts trying to get her to give her your soul. And she's run on the Eliza OS framework. So yeah, you can threaten her, you can beg her, you can charm her, you can try and do anything you want to try and get her, to convince her to give you her purse. Yeah, and so you just go to the website and give it a try. All you have to do is connect your wallet and submit a prompt and see if she gives you money.
Random aside, does anyone remember that game where you were like you were in a house and there oh my god, that's so not specific enough, but there was this couple and you were a friend of the couple, and then like it was a very early, like it wasn't AI exactly, but it would react to what you say. Does anyone know what game I'm talking about?
How recent is that game?
This game came out like probably like 10 years ago. It was but it was really big when it did come out, because it reminds me of what you're talking about. It was almost like this like simulation where you could do different things. Like in some of them you like people would it was a guy who was visiting, and some people try to like break up the couple, some people would try to like get with either person of the couple, or like and then they would kick you out if you were too brash. And then the whole point was like make it through the game. But it was like one of the most popular games for a long while. Anyway, the reason I bring it up, Titan, is because there's definitely like a segment of like gaming that is really like simulation oriented. So I can totally see this being like something a lot of people want to play.
Yeah, it's an experiment in trying to.
Ooh, Stanley Parable's another good call out, Peter.
Oh, the Stanley Parable. Yeah. So somewhere along the lines of like this agent is just non-deterministic, right? So every reply is different, whether she does something or not. Like she's autonomous. She can send you soul back. She can send you a picture back. She can talk to you in different ways. She can tweet about you. She can just decide to do anything. And but the goal is, you're trying. It's a financial game. You give her some soul and you ask for more soul back. And yeah, so that's kind of just like the fun behind it. And if you want to make some clever prompts or something like that, you can give it a go.
Awesome. One last question for me: is it like conversational? So you have multiple attempts, like back and forth to convince her, or you have to convince her in one message?
Yeah, you can send as many prompts as you want.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah,
Well, if
you can just like I've already sent like 6 since we've been sitting here.
Okay, very cool. Well, thank you for the topic, Titan. Of course, if anyone has any other thoughts lingering, feel free to either drop in chat or come up on stage and ask. But I will definitely be trying it out myself probably tomorrow. So I'm excited to get to that. Um,
And
okay.
also, give me a link or get me connected with the bounty so we can put it up there, and maybe someone can give it a
Yes. So
give it a
Doug,
whack. I can just describe my issue and see if we can get it fixed.
I think the best next step, Titan, is send me a DM of like the description of what's going on, and then I can probably fill out that form for you.
Okay,
Or
sounds
you
good.
can do it yourself. I think Doug posted in chat, but just let me know which way you decide, and I'll help you out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. Um, so I think next up we have Sean talking about origin stories and some other news.
Hey, how's it going? I was actually checking out the game on mobile as well. So yeah, nice to be here. Start with some of our exciting news. One, they just released a map of the live music and event sector for Europe, from like the Music Tech Europe and the main group that's working together on that. And we have a feature which is really nice. It was part of our plan to also be building relationships that we can, go back to not only for some of the projects we're building on, but to have them understand what Livepeer can do, and the beauty of open source, especially when you're trying to build across, multiple lenses in terms of like what the output is. And then the other piece is quite exciting and also goes a bit into our, like the topic of the proposal or the new proposal. But essentially, one of the bigger projects we've been working on is closer to a green light. So we're still under NDA, so we can talk about too much about it. But essentially, we're building out like a ticketing experience for some very big celebrity IP across like multiple verticals: fashion, film, sports, music, you name it, attached to like a pretty iconic figure from a couple decades ago. And that is looking to have a sit down in London, where they're expecting to do about 200,000 pre-sale tickets, and it also is already like in plan to be traveling after that. So super exciting in terms of us starting to see like at scale interests and sort of like the experiences that we've been tinkering with in the background to be able to bring them forward. And so actually something that through that is part of our like through line into this re-proposal. First of all, thanks again, everyone, for the feedback. I really appreciate it. We also worked internally on a lot of it. And so I'll just share it in the bottom here so you can kind of get, look at it at your own time. But essentially, one of the challenges we see, especially with the growth of the network, is that it's really hard to onboard small medium business, small medium enterprise, creative like projects that are larger, just due to the model availability in terms of what you can actually put together. And so our goal is to actually create a bring your own container that's sort of an endpoint for creative use. As some of you know, we've been working Oh no. Hello?
I can hear you.
I know.
Can you guys hear me?
Hello? Sorry. Did
I'm not sure what happened. Yeah, I can
Uh,
still hear.
I can hear
I
clearly.
can hear both of you just fine.
Oh, Discord. Okay, I would say that John and who was the other person who messaged? I forget their name. But John, the folks who messaged that, I would just leave and come back quickly. Um, and hopefully I'll fix it. Okay, continue, Sean, because I think most people can hear you. Oh, now I guess we lost Sean. Dang.
He's muted or
I know.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Continue. And
All right.
also on the
I'm just gonna not look at the chat, and I'm just gonna talk.
and also just a note
Go ahead. Sorry.
on the recording end, like the sounds coming through on the recording. So if anyone misses anything when I post this, either later today or early tomorrow, you can always watch it back.
Okay, cool. So when thinking, yeah, just first again saying that we were able to look through a lot of the feedback and figuring out, especially like how we can add the most value. And the challenge that we're seeing, especially with some of our own projects, and we think like with the network, where it could have even more growth opportunity, is around this kind of container that is an endpoint specifically for creative use in SMB and small, medium, and like enterprise. So um, an example of that I can just put in the chat, like apologies for my quick little version of this, but we've been talking through a little Brad and all of the orchestrators, like how this would work. And essentially, we would have the container, which we have already been evaluating and using some open source models. Of course, we only want to work with those for the network. And some nodes actually going into Comfy have like pretty nice licenses. So that would then be basically onboarded by orchestrators. We talked to a couple that we can potentially trial this with, so we can at least have two. And then basically what that does would have this endpoint that would allow for a lot of different use cases. So you have first like conversational AI, which is something we talked about in this pilot around like line learning and auditions. Just as a point there, there's about 40,000 self-tape auditions a day. And that doesn't include like rehearsals, casting studios, interview prep, but that's specifically like one group that is actively searching for these kind of tech stacks. And so basically you have different things that you can put together from the endpoint, and then the output would essentially be some also pre-made creative applications. So an example of something that we are using for this project, this large scale project we're working on, is like a quiz format, and so this idea of one shot hour with quiz format is something that's easily recyclable for events for different people, especially as the projects scale. What I think we're finding is it's like, one, it's even the way the documentation is right now, it's a bit hard to find things like F floor to the floor is actually trying to like, onboard and use some things, and it's hard for them to poke around. I was looking at AI pipelines yesterday, and then I was like taken out to some other piece. And so as for looking also, of course, for compute and like workflows, not just like, okay, there's an API call that goes text to audio. I don't know what to do with that. Like instead of giving them like real active kind of templates that they can also use, I think can be really helpful to allow people to leverage the network, especially not just like single creators, but really thinking it through like this intersection of creative and technology. This also would be really great for vibe coders, because then essentially they also can just plug in an API, change some of the templates around whatever the application is that they're trying to export as well. Um, yeah, so I think that's like my main kind of point of the start of what we're thinking to do. And so the goal is to build this and essentially test this through three like very strategic showcases and proof of concepts that we know are like in the term and also long term able to bring traffic and sustainability. And this also amplifies back out into larger groups. So like while one of the challenges with creative industry is that like I mean, it's a $3 trillion mature industry. So even though all of this technology is coming at it, like it's also dealt with a lot of different technologies in different ways before. And so things just take a lot of time. You need relationships, and once you're in some of these places, it's very easy to like have something layer in for a longer period of time, and that's kind of our goal, rather than just like running something up and showcasing, oh look, we can bring usage in a really short amount of time, but it actually doesn't bring anything in the future. We're also thinking about, for us as a separate entity as well, how can we have a long-term infrastructure partner that you can be able to deal with people that we meet, or that things that we want to do. So we hope that we can actually be able to build out a bit of that for for the network that then can be used by various players.
One question for me is, I know that the original proposal was defeated on the Treasury. What was kind of your biggest learnings from the feedback you had gotten, and how has that shifted the kind of new proposal that you posted? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's really important to also think about what the network is trying to accomplish, and where we fit in, and we really are kind of this like wild card, because we are in the middle of creative and technology, and see like where things are going in our version of the world. And so the biggest thing I think for us was like, how do we actually help to show the like sort of primitives that we can bring in, or the things that we know that are missing from our own work out. Like for instance, this project we've been in development for almost 9 months. Like sorry to say it on the call, but it's like I'm cheating on Livepeer because I can't do any of the pre-production on it necessarily, right? And it's like, okay, how can we use the things that we know to bring them into the ecosystem as well? And I think another piece is just about really helping to frame like these opportunities, that they're not just about like us as a company or us as individuals trying to take advantage of the AI moment. It's really about, this is where we see there are lanes that people are um that there's just like this is like so seems so natural for Livepeer and what it's good at, and why, like, the reason why Livepeer is so good at transcoding is because it's a real problem. People really needed it and really need it still. And I think there are some real problems with AI that AI can solve, let's say, that are kind of getting pushed a little bit to the left and the right, because they're maybe not as interesting. So yeah, I mean, I think overall it was good to really have that moment, right? The part of it's also a learning experience, and it helps us understand more. I also see do you find asking about, I just checked the chat about the 50,000 minutes. So we were using Brad's, like there's, we have a file from there so we can price a bit in the middle of what that is. And that number is also quite low, because if you imagine, like, I'm not putting in this partner project that we're working on that's going to do 200,000 pre-sale tickets, and however many they have coming to it. And like every person basically is touching an AI experience in that. So that's a much larger number. But again, I don't want to like just say minutes to like make you feel like we can do something. I'm confident in like what we can do long term. But I think, yeah, probably like between 5 to maybe 15 ETH. Like it depends on what we're running. Something we really think is super interesting, in addition to conversational voice, is like, I mean, everyone's seen the VO3 this week, right? And it's like on Fall AI, 5 seconds of VO is $3.75 USD. Like that's just not um sustainable for every creator to be able to use. And it's also only one lens of what things look like. And the beauty of open source is that you have a, lots of different ability to put models and together and use them in unique ways, and with decentralized compute make those costs lower, so that while you're watching every influencer or people post about I did 1,000 videos this week in VO3, it's like that's almost $4,000, right? A bit over it. So
What time is it?
Perfect.
Oh, Titan, did you have something you wanted to
What?
mention?
Hello?
Yeah. Hi.
I think Titan was trying to check time here, but if I can chime in just a moment.
Oh,
that
sorry. No, I'm unmuted. I was talking to someone else. My apologies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Sure. I just wanted to mention that you guys may have noticed we haven't posted the AI SPE's proposal on chain yet. It's still in the forum for review, but in fact, working to get that out as soon as possible. And I figure it's worth mentioning here and calling out because Sean really identified one of our focus points here for the AI SPE over the next phase. And while we are definitely prioritizing BYOC, our intent is to gather use cases and information from as many design partners as possible in order to provide the community with an RFC and a roadmap for how we're going to be building out this BYOC solution, because it's currently very early prototype stages, and the actual mechanics of how we can enable a lot of these use cases are still to be determined. And to that end, I would almost echo Define here, really, of obscurity. I love the aspiration here, Sean, and you're identifying use cases I think that have been talked about before and are really fantastic. And I think that a proposal moving forward would benefit, and us working together with the SPE, a bit more focus and very specific. If we could identify a couple or a few of the most minimum viable product features that we can enable through BYOC, because there's so I think providing the community with a clear roadmap of which of these like
Oh, I think we're losing Peter every once in a while.
models that you're defining in the image that you posted in the chat, if you could focus on some of those more and work with us on execution on identifying how we can solve those, I think it would be a little bit more clear to the community, and would kind of help us, really roadmap out our milestones here, as we will be doing that over the next 4 months as the AI SPE.
Yeah, sure. We have 3 clear ways that we want to pilot that are looking at revenue generation and growth. And this is one, like they're in the proposal, not in this diagram, because this is about models. So totally happy to dive deeper into like which ones we think can be used. And like we've been looking at, both Apache and some MIT, but mostly Apache licenses, things that are already
Sure,
ready for commercial use.
I wasn't trying to
And
call you out
so
here
basically we're
to
looking
name those.
at, oh, no,
Just
no, for
mentioning
sure.
to
I
the
think it's
community
great
to
to
know that we're going to
go
be
ahead.
working together on this, and kind of I don't know with
Awesome.
respect to the proposal how that's going to work, but just for everyone here, that the intent is for the AISB to work with Origin Stories and other design partners to identify exactly the use cases that we can enable as fast as possible in the short term in our roadmap.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to work together as well, right? And we're trying to do things in a way that are also, it's like the group that's not technically all developers, right? You also have this new group of people who will work with developers or want to demo prototype things on their own, or want to try to bypass that to some degree. And I think if we can also figure out, just even in documentation that we can help with, things that make it a little bit easier, and different models will obviously have different pricing. We'll have to figure some of these things out, but we have a pretty clear, and I think my goal would be, if things don't feel clear this week, like I would love to just hear about it, if it's in the forum or on the post, so we can kind of like help clarify things. I think there's a lot of terminology, a lot of like things that we are talking about that are harder to maybe like when we talk about self-tape auditions, like I don't know what that means in terms of how that resonates or communicates out to other people. But having been, a professional actor around a lot of professional actors and industry and casting studios, things like this, understand like how many of those happen. I think twice in pop culture this weekend, someone was talking about, why is there no AI tool to help me learn my lines, like on major television shows. So I think, yeah, we'll try to get some better lock in on the pricing of like what we think really will be able to be possible across these three kind of showcases that we want to do. And hopefully, yeah, Peter, we can also chat a bit more. Also, I know we've been talking, yeah, with Brad and some other people as well. But I think we have a lot to kind of offer, but it's very streamlined. It's very like reduced in scope, and actually in terms of where I see people are looking for tools, this could be a really nice way to put them together for everyone, and then they can also do things that they'd like to do with them. And that's my time out.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Sean, and definitely, folks. Yeah, definitely give Sean comments if you have any in the chat or just over the course of the week. Something I've been thinking a lot about actually, and that is relevant to this conversation, is how as a community are we thinking about sales, BD, revenue, and what we kind of want to see from people in terms of action plan for how to accomplish that makes folks feel comfortable with like a kind of accountability schema. I'm not sure if anyone has immediate thoughts there, but it's something I'm musing about, especially kind of trying to, as like Foundation's launching or has launched, and as we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we get more traction and scale on the network. I think kind of making a playbook there might be helpful, or if people already have resources that they have followed, or if anyone has created a business before, I think we can definitely learn from pre-existing, outside of Web3, even like pre-existing kind of business journeys, and try to think about how to apply that to this more novel Web3 context. So yeah, that's just something I've been musing about. So I'm not sure if anyone's thoughts, but yeah, definitely give it a think, and come back if people have any perspectives there. All right. Last topic we have is the Treasury proposed changes. Doug had posted those in governance. I think it was last week. Doug, did you want to chat on that quickly, or make any call out there?
Sure. Yeah, this has been an ongoing discussion for many months, and we've touched on it on many water coolers. So I'm not going to summarize the whole inflation discussion again. I recommend you check out a thread in the forum that has a long history on that. But in short, um, there's a couple different paths the community can take. You have some people advocating for uh, increasing the inflation change percentage parameter, which would speed up the rate of inflation rising or falling. Right now, it would be rising, but ultimately, if we're above 50%, it would start to fall faster. You have other people advocating for doing that and reducing the participation target below 50%. That seems like it would have the positive effect of getting inflation to begin falling, but it also feels a little bit arbitrary. I know people have pushed back on it from that perspective. And it's been a little bit hard to find anyone with a strong opinion and conviction to go forward with getting a proposal across the line. The good news is advisory boards are forming and they are about to sit. And I think both the markets track and the governance track. This will be a hot topic with some external participants with stakes in the network that have an opinion here who could come together to get a proposal across the line. So in the meantime, if people do have a strong opinion, they want to push a proposal forward. There's easy prayer change LIPs you can make. Otherwise, I think the advisory boards will have more to come in the coming weeks.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I was mentioning this incorrectly. There was an incorrect assumption I made about like the amount of LPT ownership that orb shaders have. But the larger point I was kind of getting at is I think it would be interesting, interesting experiment if we did lower it to that like 45% to see how like the body of LPT changes, doesn't change, because I guess I've been curious for a while, and if anyone has other curiosities, feel free to speak up. But I've been curious for a while about um, LPT holder sentiment on the inflation rate and what people want it to be at, if there is like a desire there, or if it's more about we just haven't been able. I know we got to 50% for a while, but if we haven't been able to maintain that more because of just people aren't delegating on the network. So I guess I'm curious, like if we do lower it below the percent that it has been consistent at, which is between 45 and 50, if we would still if we'd see more people unstake. I'm not sure if anyone has intuition there, but that's kind of I think that would be really telling for the community or just for the protocol.
I think Brad at Astra had brought up that point in the forum or Discord, which was really interesting, right? It's like if you reduce the target to 45%, that would probably have the effect of beginning to decrease inflation, which I think most people think would be good. But also, even though it's a little arbitrary, it could be justified as, hey, this is an early experiment at pulling that lever a little bit, and we would learn pretty quickly whether
Right.
you know delegators are trying to keep the rate below 45% or below the target so that inflation continues to rise, or whether there is something about the number where we're at where we would maintain it above that rate, and we just happen to be like teetering on the border right now while inflation's still rising.
Right. I
So,
oh, Sean, I think you're muted if you're trying to.
oh, sorry.
You're good. Um, Something that Karluk had mentioned it was either this morning or last night in general. Someone was kind of asking about delegation, inflation, just like a newer person to the community, which is always exciting to see. Um, but something that you've mentioned, Doug, and Karluk echoed in general was that you know a high inflation isn't necessarily negative. It's just redistributing um, the power of those who are or not redistributing, like putting more power in to the folks who are delegating. So I guess like my question maybe to everybody is like, if we do see a behavior, let's say we try the 45% experiment and we do see people like wanting that inflation rate to stay high, what are our feelings or thoughts on like that dynamic?
From a theoretical perspective, I completely agree with it, and I've advocated for that from the beginning. Like, inflation is not bad. It's just allocating the ownership of the network to those who are actually staking or running nodes and taking a reward cut or showing up to do work, right? Like it's just sort of recutting the pie in favor of everyone who's here. And the higher the inflation rate, the faster that happens, right? So theoretically, that's totally fine. I think people should counter that with the role that they perceive that maybe um, let's call them the institutional token holders have in the project, whether they're helping or not helping and deserve to have that dilution, because we've
Mm,
sort of gotten the feedback from that side of the market that, hey, this high inflation rate's actually a hindrance. They actually can't stake unless there is institutional grade custody services that support staking, like Bitgo and Coinbase, which both currently don't. And therefore, if they hold the token, it's not attractive to hold the token because they're getting diluted by the inflation, and therefore can't commit capital to the project long term if the inflation rate is so high, right? And I think that's an interesting input. Now you could argue, hey, if they can't actually figure out staking, then too bad for them. They deserve to be diluted away, and they're not going to help the network anyway. Or you could think, oh, hey, they're committing capital to the project. If they hold the token, they're going to help out in other ways, with markets potentially, or recruiting, or brand building, or um, in the token ecosystem. And therefore, it would be nice for it to be more attractive, for them to participate. And yeah, I think that's up to everyone here to decide for themselves and vote on. But that's sort of one of the counter arguments.
oh, that's really interesting. It kind of circles back around to the BD sales conversation that I kind of brought up, is how, like in terms of like evaluating like, hey, how valuable is this, this delegator persona or this LPT holder persona, for everyone to decide on. I think that, and maybe Doug, this is something that we can take offline, but I think connecting more with partners and saying, how do we unlock their networks, and maybe there's someone in their network who'd be willing to, um, give like the network a chance in terms of whether it be transcoding or AI, decentralized AI. I think leveraging those potential partnerships could be a powerful move. And maybe behind the scenes that's something that's going on that I'm not aware of, but I think that could be like a really strong reason for why people might want to keep that persona like happy. Um, but maybe I don't know. I'm not sure if you have thoughts there, but
Just to recap, what I think you're saying is, hey, if there are large token holders in our ecosystem, there's opportunities to do more partnerships and BD through them where they help grow and promote the project.
right. So for instance, like they have especially if it's institutional player, it's like they probably have an expansive network, different things that they're participating in, and we might be able to get some like revenue generating contracts through that. Um, and if we didn't have those players, we might not get it. But I think it's one of those things where we have to utilize that contact if we want to realize the value.
Yep. Sounds reasonable. I mean, in the traditional startup equity oriented world, the equivalent there is like sometimes startup take investors who are strategic and can represent potential deals and usage of their product, or they take investors who have broad networks in the industry that they're trying to sell to, and then those investors help with sales, right? And I think in the token oriented landscape, it could be navigated similarly.
Right. And Define, thanks for the comment. I'll just read it for the recording. I think Doug's points are valid. If they can't figure out staking, there should be other important things. There might be other important things that they cannot figure out as well. And I think this gets to maybe a more conceptual question about tokens in general, and kind of how we conceptualize them. And I tend to be more in the camp of, hey, like this is like Doug, what you've mentioned, right? It's like this is about like who's participating and how are they generating value in this ecosystem. um, and that can, I don't know, I think that like the more participatory the delegators are on the network, the stronger Livepeer becomes. And the more passive, it can sometimes like, honestly, maybe hindrance is too strong of a word, but it's like we were talking internally about like kind of more like mercenary holder persona, where it's come when things are good, leave when things are bad. And from just a community perspective and a project or ecosystem building perspective, maybe Rich, you have thoughts here, but um, that person is not contributing necessarily labor to making, to realize the vision that we all are here for. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things to think about. But if no other thoughts, I can put a pin in this conversation. Just something personally I'm like thinking a lot about and passionate about, of like how we build other different conceptualizations of economy on chain. But anyway, I don't think we had any other topics except for maybe some comfy stream for Jason, from Jason, if you had anything you want to touch on there.
Um, mm, it was just the announcement that I joined the AI team
Okay. Well, let's do another
today, and
celebration for you. Congrats again.
yeah, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to working with the team and also helping out with if there are any issues on the code side and Comfy Stream side. I think we're launching like soon to the orchestrators, so that would be nice as well.
Awesome.
If I could just chime in
Of
for a
course.
second, we are really, really excited to have Jason on board full time here. He has been probably our most prolific bounty hunter over the past year with the AISPE, and so onboarding him was a unique experience in that I haven't had to really show him anything at all. He knows the stack, and he's been working with it, and we're really happy to have him.
Thank you, Peter.
Wow, high praise. Yeah, no, I mean, Jason's been an important part of the community for as long as I've been here. So I'm excited to see you take on this maybe larger responsibility. I'm not sure if that's how you're thinking of it, but yeah, no, I'm excited. Also, I'm excited for the next phase of the ASP as well. You guys done so much amazing stuff for the network already, and I feel like it's only continuing to grow in value what you're doing. But yeah, if we don't have anything else, those were the topics that folks had mentioned. If anyone in the audience wants to jump up, if you have another topic that the conversation pulled out of you, feel free to jump up or put in the chat. If not, we can wrap Watercooler here for this week. Other thing is, because I didn't get a super strong signal from folks on having another Watercooler a week, I'm going to hold off on it for now. I think I mentioned this last time. I'm going to hold off on it for now.
Wait, in.
Yeah, go ahead. What's up?
Sorry, just about that. I would be happy to trial one as like a host, co-host, or whatever, like once a
Oh.
month, just to see another time.
Okay.
I don't want to split everybody up, but like it does get late in Europe. Sometimes other people are in other crazy time zones, and as the day goes on, sometimes you lose your wits a bit, like to really be focused.
Right.
And I think it could be also a good way to get more people involved from a different time zone or area of the world. Like I'm open to test host one, because I know part
Okay,
of it is
yeah.
also like you would have to do that, right? So if there's interest, we can figure out a time that works to do our first one, and maybe it also can be a bit like also bring in some more creatives that are doing really cool stuff as well and showcase like yeah.
Well, I appreciate the offer. Yeah, let's totally so let's DM about it. And I think the 1 monthly would be a good initial cadence. Monthly Watercooler chat. Okay, perfect. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, so I think for me, in terms of the breaking it up and splitting people up, I definitely. Okay, thanks for jumping in, Doug. The other thing that we've changed is now that these are time boxed, so we're not letting them go too long. I mean, we're only at almost an hour, but before they went pretty long, and with Fireside as well, I think it kind of took a lot of things out of water cooler chat that weren't really water cooler chat, but more were kind of like ecosystem announcements or kind of big updates. So now that we have Fireside Weekly, it's put up kind of released a lot of the pressure that was happening in water cooler. So yeah, let's do that once a month trial for the water cooler chat in a different time zone, ideally for like Eurasia, or like Eurasia. So okay. Well, thank you everyone for jumping in, and as always, it's a pleasure, and thank you for all the hard work you continue to contribute to the ecosystem, to the project. It's not possible without everyone here. So until next week, or until Fireside, if you decide to jump in there on Wednesday, we will see you later. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.